Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of BBP News. I'm Nicholas Rod. Chris Baker's here with me, and we are back with another Monday morning episode. Chris, start us off in the normal Monday morning fashion by giving us the weather headed into today.
In Los Angeles, California, it is partly cloudy, 72. In Houston, Texas, there are scattered thunderstorms with a high of 79 degrees. In Chicago, Illinois, there are scattered rain showers, a high of 50. And in New York City, it is partly cloudy, 57.
Oh, alrighty. So, a little rain,
Spring
little
is here,
shine.
folks. Spring is here.
Is it ever? I actually just had the most wonderful day before we recorded this outside. Got some of the golf clubs out, enjoyed the sun. It was a blast.
I'm happy for you.
One of those
I
days
did
that you
not
just
do
gotta
that, and I'm
enjoy.
probably going to regret that I didn't do it, but I had a pretty productive morning doing quite a bit of things, fun adult things like taxes and things like that. And then
Gotta
the
love all that.
afternoon, the taxes completely worn me out because I got very frustrated, but that's a story for another time. And I did nothing for the rest of the day on Saturday.
Sometimes you gotta have an afternoon or a extended period of your day where you just really don't do much. You let yourself relax. You let yourself unwind. You need
Yeah,
that.
but I should have gone outside, played with Annie, and set up the hammock and just laid in the hammock.
Well, like you said, spring is here. We're gonna have some more days like this coming up. You'll have your chance to enjoy it.
So, remember on Friday when I asked you to teleport yourself back to 2020?
Yeah, we got talking about productivity and all that.
I'm going to ask you to teleport back to 2020,
Okay, we're going there again. What do we have this time?
but we're doing the opposite of productivity
Oh,
in some light.
okay.
Um, so I know before the pandemic, you weren't a big Zillow person, were you?
I honestly didn't even really know what it was before then.
But then I kind of roped you into Zillow little by little, haven't
Just a
I?
tiny bit.
I don't think your obsession is as much as mine, but
Definitely
I
not.
think I think you still have a tad bit obsession.
Look, it's one of those things where I can stay away from. It's kind of like TikTok, right? If I don't open it, I'm safe. But if I
But if
open it,
you open it, you're done.
I'm gone for an hour or more.
Yep, I'm the same way, and that's why it's bad that they send me emails.
Oh, yeah. No, that's dangerous. I get emails, I get notifications.
hmm especially when it says recommended for you or new listing. Somehow I can just magically check my emails any time of the day.
And it's just there. They know.
Yeah, yeah. Hold on. So I think I pulled you into Zillow a little bit. We're not going to talk about the controversies around Zillow because there's plenty of those, but Zillow has released their most searched things in 2020.
The most searched things on Zillow.
So when you have on in your
Okay.
search box,
Yeah.
you can put in a city or something or a state or a zip code.
Address, things like. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, you can also put in there like three bedrooms and things like that, and they'll base it off of your previous searches and areas you might be of interest.
Sure.
Well, they released their most searched things, like I said, in 2020, and I only wrote down four of them. And this is in order of all four, but beforehand, I want to know what do you think the first, like the big four were?
Oh, God. All right. So, thinking about it in a pandemic light, right? Well, I know there were a lot of people trying to get away from like cities and stuff like that and trying to get into the countryside. So I'm guessing either that countryside or like cabin.
Okay.
So there's two that I'll just put those as two guesses. I can't even take a gander at the other two. What do you have for us?
So, well, I'll tell you what my four were because before I read it, I was like, I saw the headline of it. I was like, I really wonder. And I put some thought into this, and I'll be honest, I probably put too much thought into it. But my four were bigger backyards or scenery or things like that because, like you said, people
Okay, yeah, that
wanted
makes
to get
sense.
out of the cities and things like that.
Sure.
Um, my next one was a big kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
more square footage, and
Yep.
more bedrooms.
Okay.
Well, I got kind of two of them. You kind of got one of them. But I gotta be honest with you, these searches, they kind of throw me for a loop. One of them
Really?
I understand.
Okay.
Um, the first number one is big backyard.
Okay. Yeah, that
That kind of
I
goes with
can
what you
completely
and me were
understand that.
saying.
Yeah.
Number two was Zen Garden.
Okay.
Yep. Number three, this is the one that I kind of understand is double oven.
Double oven. Yeah, I can understand. I've seen a couple double ovens. They look really cool.
And not only
I know
that,
I'd
you
be a
got to
fan.
remember 2020 people were doing sourdough and people were
Sure, and
learning
like
how to
doing all
bake.
different types of cooking and
Yeah. So I
yeah.
feel like that kind of goes with what I was saying with a bigger kitchen, but I wasn't specific enough. But
Right.
I guess if I was looking for a house, double oven really wouldn't be the
No,
selling point
wouldn't
for
be the
me.
thing I'd search on Zillow.
Number four was hot tub. Now, this one I was a little like, okay, maybe because of March 2020. All right. So wintertime, maybe people didn't want pools or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But for each one, they kind of gave like a theory that they had.
Okay.
And their theory kind of made sense. They said because when you install a pool, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And a hot tub, depending on the kind of a hot tub you get, it can
It's
either
a
be a
lot
hot tub
less.
or a pool.
Yeah, yeah, okay, I see that. And it's one of those things where it's like I feel like hot tubs, no matter what kind of environment you're in or time, time place that you're in, timeline, a hot tub is one of those kind of like universal things
Yep.
that will just never die.
Now, I lied to you. I said I wrote down four, but I clearly can't read my own writing. I wrote five. Um,
Okay, so we got another.
and number five, they had no explanation for it because this
Oh,
one's really out there.
okay.
And number five is not haunted.
Uh All right
N-
then. I guess it kind of goes with Zen Garden, kind of in that same realm, right? Like, but that's still definitely out there for sure. The fact that that's actually like a popular search on Zillow.
Now, I have a few theories about this.
Okay.
A, there was either like a haunted movie or haunted TV show type of thing that came out during that time and it got like world
Right.
attention that I don't know about.
I know I didn't
Or
hear about one.
people have were locked up in their house so much they were convinced that their house was haunted.
Just started hearing all the random noises, all the little creaks that you'd normally just pass over.
Right.
Now
Yeah.
everyone's locked up so long they're so bored that they count the creaks and.
Yep.
Oh god. Yeah, that's a different one. I definitely don't understand that being a, top search, but all right,
Now,
Zillow.
there is a little bit more if you have interest in hearing this.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious.
In the United States, what do you think the most searched location was?
The most searched location. Ah, oh, jeez. I don't even have a good guess for this. I'm just gonna say like Arizona, maybe.
I was thinking like kind of country. I was still on the country thing. But the most searched location for people that were not in this location, if that makes sense, so people
Yeah,
in
yeah.
another part of the country looking,
Mm-hmm.
was Las Vegas.
Yeah, that doesn't really hold up for me either. Unless I guess I could kind of drag my hot tub theory into this one too. Las Vegas, pandemic or not, it's kind of a universal thing. But I guess, people just wanted to find any excuse to get away from the solitude of, shutdown and
And
get
also,
to Vegas.
Zillow says there was a 60% increase in homes sold sight unseen during the 2020 year.
Wow. Wow.
And they kind of threw people on the bus, Nick, here, and I'm
Oh
not a
no.
fan of this.
Oh boy. What did Zillow
Going
do?
with that productivity thing, when do you think the most high traffic time for Zillow was?
Oh, right at night. I'm gonna say at night.
No, between
No?
10 a.m. and 2 p.m.
And that's kind of hilarious considering on Friday, that like almost completely reverses the productivity chart we had from Friday. Where it's like, oh, most productivity came from like 10 to noon, or I think it was 10 to noon, and then noon to 3, there was a peak in that range.
Yep.
Uh,
Well, you got to remember this was 2020.
well, yeah.
That one was more late 2020, early 2021-ish. Um, but Zillow really throwing people under the bus.
Really? Yeah. Exposing them.
Yeah, and you know what's ironic is while we are recording this part right here, I got an email from Zillow, and
They
it's
know.
really piqued my interest.
They know. They
Yeah,
know it.
they know I'm talking about them.
Exactly. Can't
But
escape it.
no, you can't. And I hate to say it, but I think I'm gonna be part of Zillow for a very long time. And people say, what about Howard Hanna or Realtor? I don't know what it is. Zillow just
uh,
has that
Zill's
hold
just
on me.
entertaining.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, and I don't know if you've seen this. This is completely off topic, kind of. But people on TikTok are making videos of homes for sale that have weird things in them, or they're way
Huh.
overpriced, or they're just out of the norm. That is
I,
something else I could get sunk into for hours.
yeah, that sounds a little addicting. But before we really get pulled any further into this, we do have news to talk about.
We do, and there is new information about the ongoing investigation into President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, over his business dealings overseas, including his ties to the Chinese energy company called CEFC. Starting from the beginning, the investigation began years ago and has expanded over the years. It is now a federal probe by the FBI and IRS. A source familiar with the investigation leaked to the press that two men who worked for Hunter Biden when his father was the vice president were called in the grand jury last fall. The federal investigation into Hunter Biden's business practice is broader than previously thought, and the probe is looking into whether Hunter Biden violated tax, money laundering, or foreign lobbying laws. Records released by Republicans in Congress last week indicates multiple financial transactions involving an energy company called CEFC. Republicans are accusing the business of being an arm for the Chinese government. In 2017, the year President Biden left office as the vice president, $1 million retainer was signed with the Chinese energy company for Hunter Biden's services as a lawyer. His client, a CEFC official, Patrick Ho, was later convicted for international bribery and money laundering charges for unrelated work in Africa.
Last week on the Senate floor, Republican Chuck Grassley presented financial records that showed six-figure payments to the energy company from Biden's firm.
This is $100,000 from what is effectively an arm of the Communist Chinese government direct to Hunter Biden.
Allegations of Hunter Biden's business deals came to a center of conversation during the 2020 election.
Where's Hunter?
Then on Tuesday, former President Trump pushed an unconfirmed claim about Hunter Biden's business dealings in Russia, calling on President Putin to release any damaging information.
I would think Putin would know the answer to that. I think he should release it.
The White House had a response.
What kind of American, let alone an ex-president, thinks that this is the right time to enter into a scheme with Vladimir Putin?
The Biden administration did not offer an on-the-record statement when asked by many reporters last week. Biden's press team was also asked if Biden would pardon Hunter or James, Biden's brother. They declined to entertain the idea, quote unquote.
You may have heard or seen that the prices of things that need semiconductors or chips prices are sky high. As you know, they have been in short supply because of the pandemic, and the United States does not produce chips as much as they used to. As a result, we have had to import them, but in an effort to stop that, after months of negotiating, Congress is close to finalizing a $52 billion piece of legislation to subsidize the production of chips right in the United States. There is a lot of pushback on this bill, and it is not done yet. The bill would provide the funding through incentives and grants from the CHIP Act, which was passed back in 2021 by Congress. The new funding would do several things, including establish a tax credit for investment in construction to expand and semiconductor manufacturing plants, credit for semiconductor designs.
The U.S. Commerce Department says in the 1990s, the U.S. produced about 37% of all of the chips worldwide. Today, we produce only 12%. The biggest producers in the world are Taiwan, South Korea, and China. 75% of the chip supply comes from East Asia, and that is where we have been importing our chips from. The pushback is coming because American companies are not producing these chips out of the kindness of their hearts. It is costly and messy business, and these subsidies would incentivize them to do it. But there are several senators, including independent Bernie Sanders, that have called this bill, quote, corporate greed, end quote, and said if the federal government is going to subsidize these huge tech companies with tax dollars, there should be strings attached. One of those strings being giving the federal government equity interest or preventing the companies from shipping jobs overseas or even preventing them from buying back their own stock. Since the House and Senate passed two different versions of this bill, there will be members from both chambers meeting together and negotiating to come up with a final package. These negotiations could go on for months.
$1.5 billion of unclaimed tax refunds are up for grabs, and there is a deadline to claim the money if you qualify. The IRS says that money should have been claimed rightfully going back to 1.5 million American taxpayers, but it hasn't. The reason they haven't gotten the money yet is because they never filed their 2018 tax return. There are more than 145,000 people in Texas, 98,000 in Florida, and 148,000 in California. There are tens of thousands of other people as well in all 50 states.
According to the IRS, the average tax refund people are missing out on is $813. When you don't file a federal income tax return, the law allows most taxpayers to file it within a 3-year window and be eligible to claim the refund, and if you don't, that money becomes property of the U.S. government. If you haven't filed taxes for 2019 and 2020, and you filed 2018, your refund may be held until you catch up on all of those returns the IRS is missing. As always, that refund will offset the outstanding amount of federal and state taxes, unpaid child support, and past due federal student loans. If you still need to file that 2018 tax return, it needs to be paper and it needs to be sent to a specific IRS office based off of what state you are in. Your 2019 and 2020 return can be e-filed. The deadline to claim these tax refunds is April 18th. Unless you live in Maine or Massachusetts, then it is April 19th. And just a reminder, taxes for 2021 are due on April 18th.
Getting into rapid news, 6 Pennsylvania middle school students were hospitalized Thursday morning after eating what the school describes as, quote, drug-laced edibles.
The CDC will end sweeping asylum limits aimed at preventing spread of COVID-19 on May 23rd, saying that it is no longer necessary.
Nick, what do you got for this Monday morning good news?
All right, so my story this morning, I mean, it's short, but it's something kind of cool depending on, what you think about archaeology and relics and all this stuff and technology, but I thought this was pretty cool. So if you've ever heard of Pompeii, we learn about it in school. It's one of those, perfectly preserved cities because of a volcanic eruption hundreds and hundreds of years ago, even longer than that. And scientists are still exploring the ruins of Pompeii to find different artifacts and different relics and things like that to try and help them understand, how people lived and how things happened back then. Well, now they are employing robotic dogs to help search the rubble and the ruins throughout the city. So, over the years, there have been a lot of people who have dug illegal tunnels through all the wreckage and through all the rubble to find relics that they can sell on the market. These tunnels, of course, make things very dangerous, very tough to get through, and scientists sometimes don't know where there's, a safe place to go. So they've actually been building these robotic dogs to actually look around these different sites, to go into these tunnels and these different areas to see where different, spots are that are dangerous, new discovery sites that the scientists can look at. And they also have drones in the sky looking for these things as well. So anything that the drones can't catch from above, the dogs will get from these tunnels. So just kind of a cool little tech story and a little cool archaeological story.
Tech can be amazing sometimes. We've seen where technology isn't always the greatest, but when it's used for things like this, it's amazing. And of course, dogs are always amazing, and you'll never change my mind about that.
It's so true. And what I find fascinating is that it feels like whenever they do things like this, it's always a robotic dog, right? Like, they have robotic bomb sniffing dogs, or like, bomb detection dogs for the military. They have these, patrol robots that they use now for things like this. They even have robotic guide dogs, if you've ever heard of those. So kind of just fascinating to me.
Well, I don't care if it's robotic or a real dog. Dogs are just amazing, okay?
I mean, I will definitely stand by you on that. Yeah.
That is the end of this Monday morning news episode. That is a great good news story. Good job, Good News King. You never let us down. We will be back here Wednesday morning for an Idiot in the News. But until then, make sure you follow us on BBP News' Twitter account for the latest 24-hour breaking news so you're always in the know. Until Wednesday morning, have a great start to your week, everybody.
Bye, guys.